And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another weekend edition here of the PondCast episode number 102, our weekly dose of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, your Sly VIP, with me and joined by Kerr, handling the production side of things, and, of course, by all the lovely people in the chat as well. Welcome, welcome, one and all, to our weekly wrap-up show where we do discuss all things StarCraft and StarCraft adjacent as well. First things first, no apologize. We did mention it previously, post STC, but we have been a little bit absent over the past couple of days. Usually we're live every single day, and originally we were scheduled to go live on Monday with the WardiTV Monday, on Tuesday with OSC, and this morning with PondCast Cup. But as I emphasized at the end of Tuna Cup on Sunday, that I was a little bit under the weather, to go to the doctors, to get some rest, of course, as well, and now we are back. The downside, of course, is that we did miss out on a couple of days of casting the Open Cups, which is honestly really important when it comes to trying to gauge and trying to judge the new patch that dropped as well, when it comes to the current state of play, and the current kind of meta and how it's been evolving. So I apologize because I'm going to be lacking some of that context because we did miss out on 2 Open Cups, which would have given us a lot of data, a lot of information as well. But regardless, we'll get into the discussion. We'll get into all the topics we have ready for you. Up first is going to be one of many interviews. Let's go. Up first is going to be a interview here with MedicJR. MedicJR here with the SCHistorian. Again, this was a pretty old interview. I believe this interview was actually conducted during SC for All, during last year's SC for All, so it's been a while. It feels like the SCHistorian has been holding on to this for quite some time now, but finally has released it. So this also kind of tells us that what kind of backlog does the SCHistorian have that he's working on, that he has kind of a little bit more held back. But regardless, I do appreciate it. It was great to hear from MedicJR here. MedicJR, of course, he's a very young player, very young player, who is very active in the amateur tournament scene, and did actually go to SC for All, was a part of that, and was able to have a bit of an interview here with the SCHistorian, which was great, which is really cool. Again, he's like a younger, I say up-and-coming player. Again, still around Masters. He's competed in our tournaments, even in MSO. I don't think he played in SDO. I think just in MSO in recent years, but again, a really young player and has a lot of potential for sure as well. And we got to hear from, I guess, his perspective, going to an offline event for the first time, being around, like-minded individuals and other fans and other members of the scene of StarCraft, and looking to compete, and again, potentially looking at a player that has potential. I think potential is the correct word to use there. Obviously, he was talking about his time, in school and studying, and how he's had to focus on that, of course, and hadn't really had too much time to play and focus on StarCraft itself. But it was really cool to hear from MedicJR nonetheless. As again, he's definitely a good player in his own right, who is very passionate about StarCraft, of course, very passionate, and yeah, we got to hear from him. It was great to hear, definitely an active member of the community, of course, and it was great to kind of hear from that more younger perspective, talking about his family, talking about going to an event like this, and kind of his thoughts moving into it. As always, I do wish him the best. He actually did graduate from MSO relatively recently. It was actually this most recent MSO over the weekend where he tried to sign up, and I was like, yo, you already hit 4.7 this season. He's like, oh, okay. So yeah, he wasn't quite able to compete, but yeah, again, looking forward to maybe seeing him in more semi-pro or amateur events. I think he said that his stated goal is to hit 5K by the end of the year. If he's hovering around 4.7 right now, then I think hitting 5K is reasonable. Again, depending on how much time he has to play. How much time he can dedicate to practicing, of course. But if the devotion is there, if the dedication is there, then for sure, I can see him getting there. 100%. 100%. But yeah, regardless, do check it out. Again, a really fun interview, and definitely great to hear from MedicJR. Again, one of the younger players, kind of in the scene, for sure. And shout out to the SCHistorian for hosting said interview. Likewise, we also had an interview with Clem. This is a more recent interview, held at the most recent Home Story Cup, so much more recent here. And yeah, it was an interesting interview, kind of going over even some of the more recent times in regards to Clem. Some things that we had actually already recently gone over. Surprisingly enough, we actually have had a lot of content recently with Clem, whether it's, some of the balance discussions that he had with DNS, or even some of the Comeback Kid, perspective of things, and even some of the thoughts we've had recently as well. I feel like we've had a lot of content surrounding Clem, and here comes another content piece, of course, with Clem talking about winning his first big events, talking about talking about how the state of his life and his mental state, how it affects his performance in tournaments, which we kind of already went through when it came to the Comeback Kid documentary, talking about your state of mind coming into coming into a tournament. Of course, he was talking about how if there are things that are bringing down his mood outside of just the game, then that does impact how well he's performing in any given era of StarCraft. Now that's been very noticeable. Raynor said the same thing, of course. I mean, all players they echo the same sentiments about their kind of mental state going into competing, playing, practicing, and kind of periods of time. So just kind of goes over that as well. Talks a little bit about about EWC. Talks about the French scene. Talking about I think it was talking about Shino or Hino at the event, and catching up with all these other French people in the French community, of course, which we also did kind of emphasize when it comes to the previous SCHistorian interviews with Funk and TKL and everyone else. So we kind of further went along that road, talking about the French community in general and talking about the rise of the French scene as well. So we got a lot more of that, which we already kind of heard before. But regardless, it was cool to hear from Clem. I think what's interesting is that he spoke a little bit more about the PvT matchup, talking about why he switched to Protoss. Which we already knew. He was talking about how his difficulties in TvT, it's very positional based. It takes away a lot of his strengths. He's a very fast player, and that speed that doesn't really matter as much in TvT. But it's a bit of a shame that this interview was held when it was, and not a couple of weeks after, because we kind of emphasized this. But in recent weeks, last week, Clem started playing TvT again. He started playing TvT again, and now would be the time where I would love to hear Clem about the rationale for that. It's again, my opinion and my analysis of that is that Clem no longer enjoys PvT because of some of the changes that have been made to the gateway, and that's why he's now playing TvT again. But it would be nice to hear from him, right? It'd be nice to hear from him. It'd be nice to hear from Clem himself when it comes to his decision to return to TvT and whether there's any kind of staying power there, right? Whether that's going to continue. Right now, it's been a week of play so far of him playing TvT again, and he's had some mixed results, but that's kind of what we expect, and we'll see if that trend continues with Clem as well, for sure. We'll see if it continues. I don't think we really got too much out of this interview outside of that. It feels like a lot of ground that we've kind of already gone over. It was nice to hear a little about EWC and post EWC and the French scene and I guess some of the current balance and state of things. But again, I feel like we've been getting a lot of Clem content recently, so it's yeah, I don't know if we've got anything new necessarily, but regardless, I do appreciate the SCHistorian for once again hosting this interview and then being able to have Clem here, just because Clem is one of those players who doesn't really kind of put himself out there much, right? Similar to Cyril, I guess. Cyril's a little bit different because he recently has been streaming a little bit more, but Clem is not a regular streamer, not a regular content creator. Usually it takes someone else like an SCHistorian or DNS or someone to kind of bring him on a show or make content to be able to hear from his perspective. That doesn't necessarily come naturally out of him in a public manner. So I think regardless, we appreciate that the SCHistorian was able to kind of create a platform for Clem to come on and to be able to express some of these thoughts. So it is really cool to hear. And again, big shout out to the SCHistorian for hosting said interview. Big shout out. Meanwhile, up next, we have the next big piece of news, of course, that has been that's been trending throughout the past week, and that is the new Hotfix Patch. Now, this did come a little bit late. If you recall, I was expecting this to arrive last week on Monday, so around the 14th of July. This ended up dropping on the 17th of July, towards the end of the week instead, after last week's PondCast, of course, as always. So it arrived a little bit late, but did eventually arrive nonetheless. It's been with us now for under a week. It's been 5-6 days, around 5 days since the patch did drop, and it's been an interesting one. So going over it here, there were no changes made to Zerg necessarily. We had Protoss and Terran changes instead. Up first, we'll just go over the notes themselves and we'll discuss. We're making changes based on player data and feedback. We are calibrating both Protoss and Terran to help deal with Zerg. We'll continue to monitor and make changes if necessary. So when it comes to this, what I will say off the bat with this opening statement, I do appreciate that the final line does say that they will make more changes if they feel the need to. If you recall, my big concern coming into specifically this patch, and we spoke about this last week before the patch had dropped, is that my big concern is how long are we going to be expecting to receive support, right? How long are we expecting this to happen, and how far will this go? My concern was that it doesn't feel like we have too much time left with the SE2 dev team, or the classics dev department, really, with StarCraft before they have to move on to the next thing. And it feels like, I say it feels like, we've already spent a lot of time on this patch. It feels like we haven't really gained too much ground, and you know, we don't have infinite resources, we don't have like infinite weeks to prepare this patch. It does feel quite finite. So my concern was that this upcoming hotfix would be the last one. But here we're, you know, they're at least giving us like a little bit to work with here, that hopefully there's going to be like another hotfix, like I would imagine in like 2 weeks. I'd imagine this week to kind of like settle us in, then the next week, and then maybe the week after that, like 2-3 weeks. I think like 2 weeks would make the most sense for another patch. But for now, we'll get into it itself. Protoss changes. We have Colossus damage increased from 10 plus 5 versus light to 12 plus 3 versus light instead. So same overall damage versus light units, but now its base damage has been increased, which will help it be a little bit more well-rounded, and this will mainly affect, I would say, TVP. Technically, this makes it a little bit more viable against like roach-based compositions, for example, but it's not very very commonly you want to transition out of Colossus. Like Colossus isn't very common in ZVP, especially because of how the Viper interacts with the Colossus as just a target for abductions. So often in ZVP, the meta for Protoss is to go Stalker into Storm into Skytoss, right? You don't typically go into the robo-heavy Colossus kind of setup. That's not really something that's done. So that's not really what we expect. So this doesn't really impact PvZ as much. It does have some niche applications, of course. If a player does want to try to play Robo and try to play with Colossus, then the option is going to be there. It's going to be a little bit more viable in the mid game. Currently, as the meta stands, it doesn't really have a place there, but there are other changes that might impact the meta itself in regards to ZVP. That's the first big change. I spoke about ZVP. When it comes to TVP, again, this is going to be huge against Terran because Colossus is much more standard against Terran. It's seen a lot more in the mid game, and for Terran units, I mean, this will be impacting its damage against Ghosts and against Marauders. Won't be impacting its damage against Marines, against the more Marine heavy force, but it's very, very common to go Marauder and Ghost heavy in the mid to late game in TVP, and now that army is going to be weaker against these Colossus. So this is a huge buff for Protoss in TVP specifically. And again, it has some niche applications in ZVP or PvZ. Next, we have the adept change. Adept damage modifier attack per attack upgrade increase from 1 plus 1 versus light to 2 plus 2 versus light instead. This is an interesting change. I don't really know what the purpose of this is. So the problem with the adept is that the adept does not scale well into a longer game. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Just as a unit, it's more expensive than a zealot. So the role of being like a buffer unit isn't really there. It's not as dynamic as a stalker when it comes to its gas cost either. Like all the other gateway options are typically better, and the adept just does not scale well, considering what other options you have getting into the mid game, getting into a better economy. So this helps a little bit when it comes to like trying to transition out. But it's not, yeah, it's weird. Personally, I think that this might be the most impactful in PvP. You do see adepts in the mid game specifically for like immortal adept all-ins, like off of 2.5 bases, where you don't fully saturate your third base. You open up Robo into a Twilight Council, immortal heavy into adepts, into glaives, and then you just go for a big all-in. But usually that's done, and this can last quite a while actually. But usually this is done without a forge. Like usually you don't really get any upgrades with this. But this might incentivize some Protoss players to get a forge forge, to get upgrades, to just have your adepts be a little bit more robust, to be better against zealots, and to be better, just a better unit overall when you push in. Because in that kind of composition, your adepts are mainly a buffer for your immortals, and your immortals do more damage against the stalkers, and you have your adepts against the zealots. So I can see this maybe impacting PvP. Outside of that, it feels very weird. But I understand the rationale. Like, I understand the goal there is to make the adept more viable, but I don't think this is it. Like, I don't think this makes the adept more viable in the mid game. I think it helps maybe a little bit when it comes to trying to transition out, but it's still not great. And I feel like maybe we'll see this impacting PvP the most likely. Up next, we have the Gateway Unit Train time reduction from researching warp gates increased from 40% to 50%. So basically, this is huge. This is a huge change here. We already saw a lot of players playing around with this, with the idea of skipping warp gate and staying on gateways. In TVP, PvT specifically, a little bit of PvZ as well, but mainly PvT against Terran. We saw this from Trigger, we saw this from Skilless at Home Story Cup, we saw this from Showtime at Home Story Cup as well. We saw from Trigger in the RSL qualifiers for the Korean server, I believe. So we've been seeing this from some key players, but a lot of the Koreans have not really been. They've been ignoring it for the most part. A lot of the Koreans, they've been just going into warp gate anyway, going like 3 gates, blink, into aggression, hyper aggression in the early game as well. So this is basically forcing players, hey, like, this is a viable option. You need to try this more. Like, this is a big buff here that should be incentivizing players to take it more seriously, to consider the viability of keeping your gateways like gateways and not turning them into warp gates, and making that so much more stronger. And I do see this having some big ramifications in specifically PvT against Terran. We've already been seeing it. We've already been seeing, again, like, I highly recommend checking out the RSL qualifying matches with Trigger, seeing like this mass gateway style and just insane production coming in. The downside, of course, is that without your warp-ins, defending against drop play is harder, for sure, and Trigger did struggle against drop play, but that's where you have to like morph in a couple of warp gates to help with that. Otherwise, like, again, your production is insane. And this does make it much more difficult for Terran when it comes to the mid to late game. This was already an issue. Like, mid to late game PvT was already an issue last patch. It still is an issue now, where the Protoss player is too easily gaining map control and containing their opponent. On like a lower base count, mass expanding, and just getting out of hand and getting out of control. And it feels like this is going to be like benefiting that kind of style even more and pushing that style even more. And it feels weird that we're doing this, right? It's like, this was already a perceived issue in TVP in the previous patch when it comes to like this mass swarm toss style, and it feels like these changes are going to be strengthening that style even more. So yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a weird choice that they're buffing Protoss here, and these buffs are impacting, I would say, mainly Protoss versus Terran, and that was already a matchup that has some issues. It already has some issues, and those issues are going to be a little bit stronger now as well. So it's kind of weird. Up next, we have the Gateway Warp Gate transformation duration has now been reduced, so now you can morph them back and forth a little bit faster. And the Disruptor Phantom weapon change was decreased from 11.35 to 7. This decrease does actually buff the disruptor. So basically, previously, the way this works here, a phantom weapon is basically an invisible attack. So the disruptor, when you aim moved it forward before this patch, it would act as if it had an attack, but you wouldn't be able to see it, and it would stay back as a result. But it was staying too far back, way too far back. Now it's been reduced, so now you can aim move it, and it does get within now 7 range, within range of a Nova. Before, you'd have to manually move command it forward to be able to Nova and hit an army. Now it's going to be naturally within range, and then you can Nova it as well. I think a lot of people, myself included, it's kind of weird that it's a phantom attack, like just making an attack, just like the High Templar, just like the Infestor now as well. It would make more sense if there was just like a visual attack that you could see, that would just make more sense. Here, it's just like naturally has like a space in between itself and your opposing units when you aim move, and it's a weird thing to have. It's a little bit weird. It feels like the development team just didn't want to animate like an attack for it, so they just made it like a phantom attack. But it does feel a little bit weird. It's like the odd one out when it comes to the spellcasters, and it's kind of weird that it's invisible. It'd make more sense if it was visible instead. So it's weird. It's quality of life, of course. I know it's very controversial right now, just because it takes some skill expression away from players. Like it at the highest level play, it's always impressive when you see players utilize disruptors really well, and even the best players in the world do mess it up and they do miscontrol and lose disruptors here and there. But like that's a way to it's a way to distinguish between the best of the best, right? To show that skill expression, and we're taking some of that away from Protoss, and we're kind of raising the skill floor a little bit. So I say raising, sorry, I should say the opposite, lowering. We're lowering the skill floor a little bit, making it more accessible, and there's already a lot of that for Protoss, so it's definitely a very controversial change. For Terran, CC cost reduced from 400 to 300. We spoke about some of the Protoss buffs. Now this is a huge Terran buff. It's pretty big. It's a huge buff here for Terran in regards to their natural timing, their third base timing as well. Just expanding is going to be much easier. Getting your CCs a lot faster as well. This is a huge change that's going to be increasing the speed at which the Terran player can build up their economy. One of the reasons for this is most likely because of early game, especially TVP. It's a matchup we've been discussing a lot actually when it comes to this patch. The early game and the early to mid game has been very difficult with the Terran player when in regards to claiming their third bases and claiming their fourth bases. This will help immensely when it comes to that. So this does help alleviate some of that. Likewise, though, this also impacts TVZ. I would say that TVZ before this patch was settling in a really interesting place. Just because we saw Terran players be more aggressive and more intense. Now with cheaper CCs, this incentivizes more defensive play. It makes it more viable and cheaper to get more CCs, get more expansions, and kind of like build yourself up. Not just that, in conjunction with the Ghost change, I'm jumping up ahead a little bit here, but up next we have the Planetary Fortress cost increase from 350 to 250, 150, but then we have the Ghost supply reduced from 3 to 2 again. Like we just keep changing the Ghosts back and forth and back again. But now that CCs are cheaper and now that Ghosts take less supply, that means you can mass out more Ghosts again. And the big concern here is that this incentivizes specifically against Zerg, incentivizes more defensive play. Like more defensive play, it means that Terran players are incentivized to just stay back and mass up at a heavy Ghost force, like a heavy Ghost army, and before moving out, right? So this kind of change does kind of push players to do that, right? To be more defensive, to be more turtle heavy, and to build up a high Ghost count. This does impact, of course, all matchups, TVP as well, where Ghosts are pretty impactful, pretty important when it comes to the Terran matchup. Now there are going to be more Ghosts than previously. TVP is a hard one to kind of try to discern, just because you have the change for Terran where now they can take expansions faster and easier. Now they're going to have more Ghosts. At the same time, Colossus are going to be stronger to help compensate that, and Protoss production is also increased to help compensate for that. So it's hard to judge how TVP is going to fall and who it's going to favor. But there's a lot of changes here that will impact that matchup for sure. And we'll kind of, I feel like time will tell. I say time will tell. If we had casted the WardiTV Monday and the PondCast Cup this week, then maybe we'd have a better idea. But which way this is going to swing, whether these Protoss buffs are enough or whether this strengthens Terran too much. When it comes to the Zerg-related matchups, I think what's interesting here is that the stated goal here was to help versus Zerg, but like these changes impact, I feel like, TVP a lot more. When it comes to the Zerg changes, I mean, I say that, we just mentioned that the Ghost change is going to have a big impact versus Zerg, and I feel like it's not a good one. I feel like trying to incentivize turtle heavy play is not what you want. I feel like that's unhealthy for the game. For ZVP, it'll be interesting. The issue with ZVP right now, again, post this hotfix, is that when it comes to ZVP, because gateway play was so it's so difficult for the Protoss player to keep up with the production and the economy of Zerg that that trying to play gateway heavy is just not viable, right? You just get overwhelmed. You just get overwhelmed. You get overrun. And you get shut down. So we've been seeing a lot of Protoss players succeed recently with SkyToss, rushing SkyToss, mass Void Ray, Mothership rushes. We've been seeing a lot of this as of late. But with these changes, is this enough to bolster gateway production, to help boost gateway play, to allow Protoss players to be active in the mid game? That's yet to be determined, right? We'll see. We'll see if this is enough, or if it's still if the Zerg economy is still too great. I think that's I don't think this is really addressing the issue too much. I mean, again, Colossus are a little bit stronger against roach heavy play, but like we're still going to be going like, yeah, like I don't know. I feel like this is kind of missing the mark in regards to ZVP, in regards to what Protoss need right now. And the mothership is still really strong. I think a lot of people, myself included, were expecting like a mothership nerf, but there's no mothership nerf here. If you're not going to be touching SkyToss, then I don't think this is enough to de-incentivize players from rushing SkyToss, which they've been doing for the past 2 weeks. Like rushing, like ZUP is in a really bad place right now. Where we've been seeing we spoke about this last week, and if you missed out on the tournaments, then I do recommend them. How a lot of people who only view tournaments via results might get the wrong impression that ZVP is in a better place because more Protoss are winning against Zerg now, but that's only because they've been rushing Mothership and rushing SkyToss. And going into like Void Ray heavy play and reverting back to like this like 2021 S style of play. And I don't think that's necessarily healthy for the game. And I don't know if these changes incentivize players from not rushing SkyToss. I feel like they probably needed to. I feel like the mothership had to be hit as well alongside these changes to kind of like dissuade players from rushing SkyToss and rushing mothership, and to make them go into a more gateway heavy style. I feel like you needed both of those things to happen. But yeah, we'll see. we'll see how the meta evolves with this. I feel like these changes are interesting, but I feel like they miss the mark in regards to versus Zerg matchups and how that should be impacted. Yeah, I think this is it's weird. Again, like I can see these changes impacting TVP more so than the Zerg matchups, which is kind of weird. Because that was not the intended goal of this patch. So yeah, odd choices, odd changes here, for sure. When it comes to the bug fix changes, the big one, there was some huge bugs in regards to the auto load mechanic, and they just said here they reverted it. They plan on reintroducing it once they fix it, but right now they don't have the time or resources to dedicate to fixing the bug, so they just remove the auto load feature for now, and maybe like next year or in a couple of months, like they'll add it again. Is kind of like what we're getting here. So they remove the auto load feature, and yeah, it's a very small kind of like bug fix list, but I would say again pretty important, pretty impactful overall. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, unfortunately, I didn't get to cover PondCast Cup on WardiTV Monday this week, so I'm lacking some of the context as to certain tournament results and how players have been playing this week. So I do apologize for that. But I think you can even hear it now, and I've been reading myself a little bit. I'm still a little bit unwell. I'm still under the weather. I'm still not fully recovered. So yeah, missing a week of StarCraft. I mean, a lot happens on a week of StarCraft. A lot, and I say a week of StarCraft. We've been missing 2 days worth of StarCraft, and we missed so much. So hopefully we can get back into the swing of things soon. Hopefully. Up next, we have the StarCraft Evolution patch notes. If you recall, our big thing coming into Crank Gathers was that I was hoping there would not be a patch mid-tournament, but there has been a patch mid-tournament, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Here for the patch notes, it opens up. Patch 1.20.3 contains incremental balance adjustments based on gameplay data from Crank Gathers Season 4 group stage. So we were concerned about this, but basically they took games from the group stage and they've made some changes based on some of the performances in the group stage. I say some, it's only two, I believe, only two changes. The first big change here is the science vessel. Science vessel was hit, decreased, and we'll go over the changes, but like a massive novel was written for the science vessel changes. This isn't the first time this has happened. Basically, I say Hyper One felt the need to give his opinion on the current state of TVP, on the current use of the science vessel, on how Terran players are using it, how Zerg are responding to it, how they are not responding to it as best as they can, and how the Terran maybe aren't utilizing it as best they can either. And it's very opinionated, I will say, going into the rationale behind the changes and what they believe, certain matchups and how certain compositions should unfold. This is like the polar opposite of like the Blizzard thing, where everyone is asking for a little bit more explanation behind certain changes for Blizzard. Here, like this is not just explaining what some of the changes are, but again, like it's like heavily loaded with like opinion, with attempted analysis at certain things. I'm probably not going to go over the entire thing, but I will address some of what was said here. But first, I guess the changes themselves. Decrease defensive matrix cast range from 10 to 9. So decrease cast range for defensive matrix. Decrease irradiate cast range from 9 to 8. Increase irradiate cast start time from 0 to 0.36. So there's going to be a bit of a delay. It says here, during the cast time, if the science vessel is destroyed or issues another order, the irradiate cast will be cancelled. And decrease irradiate cast finish time from 0.45 to 0. Okay. Cast finish time is the duration after the irradiate damage is applied before the science vessel will receive new orders. Okay, so the reasoning for these changes, if you maybe missed it, the Crank Gathers tournament was last week. The group stage concluded last week, and we did see quite a bit of TVZ. And what we saw out of Brutal Terran versus SC2 Zerg was heavy science vessel play, was like heavy defensive play. You just turtle up, you build up a heavy siege line, you slowly expand, and then you rush into science vessels. And with mass science vessel, again, it reminds me a little bit of mass Raven back in the day. Science vessels, they can mass irradiate everything that Zerg has, of course. They can also throw down defense matrix to help fortify and protect units, of course. And we saw a lot of heavy science vessel play. I will say that during the games themselves, we did notice a couple of players, whether it's Cyril, whether it's Raynor, but a couple of players that were maybe a little bit stubborn in their play, and it took a long time. They eventually got there, but it took a long time for them to recognize that playing the style, this like heavy like Lingbane Ultra style that they were attempting, like wasn't really working, and they'd have to like switch out into something different, into something a little bit more something a little bit more mobile, into like something more corruptor based to fight for the sky, into their own Vipers to go for their own parasitic bombs as well, like to try to counter the Vipers, sorry, to counter the science vessel, to zone them away, to kind of build up into different kind of armies. Like it took a long time for that to happen. We were kind of like stuck on mass ultra for a while, and the ultras were struggling heavily. They were being very cost inefficient, if you recall, and there was room for growth. Which, to be fair, like this kind of like this write-up addresses that. This write-up talks about. We just spoke about it. It talks about like the compositions that we used and how they were inefficient and how like they weren't really being used too well. And so that like touches on that idea, which is true. Like this is one of the arguments that you could have for patching too soon, too quickly, without letting the players kind of figure things out themselves, which they eventually will. I believe that the rationale behind nerfing this, though, is that similar to what I mentioned previously about de-incentivizing turtle heavy play in the SC2 patch, how the Protoss changes, in my mind, didn't make too much sense if we didn't hit the mothership, if we didn't hit the sky toss in some way, because if you don't, then I mean, they found a way that works, and it incentivizes more defensive heavy play. Similarly here as well, where even if like win rates change, and even if Zerg players figure out how to like break this more heavy science vessel play, it isn't maybe the most like healthy kind of state of the game, or the healthy kind of direction that they want the Terran race to go in. They would want them to be more active in the mid game, I would imagine. They don't want them to turtle up into mass science vessel. That's even if it turns out that there's like some counterplay available and a bit of back and forth, like it still pushes a play style that I would imagine they don't want for the game. And we just spoke about this, right? We spoke about this in regards to the ghost change, the ghost buff that was just received for SC2, where buffing the ghost in this way, incentivizing more heavy ghost play and more turtley play, I will say is a negative thing. And here you have a science vessel that's maybe a little bit too strong, that maybe you don't need to nerf. Maybe Zerg players will learn how to play around it or play with it and play against it. True, but at the same time, you don't. It's kind of allowing players to play a style that isn't really what you want for StarCraft Evolution. And I would say that's currently happening with SE2, where there are certain things that are being done to the game that are incentivizing more defensive and more turtle heavy play, which I would say is a negative thing, right? A negative thing for the game. So they kind of go into that. Next change here was for the Protoss changes. High Templar Hallucination once again requires an upgrade. So we do have research costs for Hallucination. Previously, we removed the research requirement for the Templar Hallucination building on the grounds it was relative lack of utility. This was a hard breach of our design principles, and we are reverting this change so that it falls back in line with other Brood War abilities. So there we go. So two changes: the High Templar and the science vessel. And even though like I do agree with the overall sentiment of nerfing the science vessel, I do think that I still don't like the idea of patching the game mid tournament, especially if you're citing that tournament for giving you data on the current state of the game. So yeah, it's unfortunate that this was done. I would imagine they probably won't do it like mid playoffs or anything like that. We probably don't expect another balance change until post CranKy's playoffs. But yeah, it's yeah. Personally, I'm not too fond of the timing of this. I understand the rationale behind it, of course, and we'll see. We'll see how it impacts the matchup and how it forces her into play, and how that dynamic changes. For sure, we'll see. We'll see. But those are the Evo patch notes. Up next, we did have ZeroSpace. ZeroSpace early access launch.
Hold on. We have one more news that was literally posted just recently, as of like an hour ago, which is a preview of the JOYTOY StarCraft models.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think we had previously announced that the models were being worked on, or that they that a deal was struck up with JOYTOY previously, but looks like now we've actually gotten some I guess a sneak peek of the release itself. If you recall, like JOYTOY, they typically work with Warhammer. Like they've released like a bunch of like Warhammer lines in the past, but now they've partnered with Blizzard. We spoke of this previously, how Blizzard, they've recently been kind of like selling or utilizing their license for StarCraft a lot more freely, whether it comes to merchandise and shirts, or even things like this when it comes to toy lines or model lines, I should say. So yeah, it looks really cool. Looks really sick. Looks really promising, of course, as well. Obviously, these will be painted. These will be made themselves. It's interesting that this is happening at the same time that we have the miniatures line, of course, where miniatures are all done. You know, you can paint them however you want. These are going to be pre-painted, of course. They're going to be like done up. This is just like the initial like preview model, but it's looking good.
I feel like it's important to mention that those are not just models; those are action figures, so they are fully posable.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they are different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're also, of course, larger as a result of that. But yeah, it's really cool to see. I'm looking forward to see the finished product and what it looks like towards the end. We do have a full squad of Marines, which makes sense. I mentioned earlier that they have a lot of experience when it comes to Warhammer, so it makes sense that they would have a bunch of like Marine models. Just the one Zealot, just the one Hydra. We don't know if this is all that they'll have. Like they might actually release more models for the other races as well. But it does make sense just because of their experience that they'd have plenty of like Marine models at least. So yeah, looking forward to it. Shout out to JOYTOY for working with Blizzard for releasing their line. Up next, we have ZeroSpace. ZeroSpace early access is now live as of yesterday. So early access has officially launched. I don't know if any of I would imagine that a bunch of like the big streamers are going to be working and producing content on this soon in regards to the campaign in regards to some of the 1v1 ladder as well. I might actually hop into this. The reason for that is, like, right now I'm a little bit under the weather. I've been casting a lot less as of late, so and just look after my voice.
Just saying.
And I even
Just saying, if you do, you should definitely pick the Utema faction and help him fight in the Galactic War.
I was gonna get to that, but yeah, we'll see what happens when it comes to the rest of our casting schedule this week, just because we might be looking to take it a little bit easy. But yeah, when it comes to the event itself, again, there's going to be campaign is going to be available. There's going to be some co-op. There's going to be some 1v1. Obviously, this is early access. Like, the full release is still on the horizon. I don't think they have like a date set on full release. I think they just have like a general like guideline or guide as to when that would happen. I say that's the roadmap. Yeah, I don't think they have dates on the roadmap yet.
No, they don't specify a date, but they do give you a roadmap just to see like what current stage of the project is.
Yeah, which will be like the rest of the campaign. It'll be like more like game modes for 2v2 and 3v3 and free for all and things of that nature. And likewise, as you mentioned as well, apparently they're working with 3 content creators: Winter, Euthermal, and Neo. And starting earlier this week, they did begin like this campaign. I'm not entirely certain as to how it works. I don't know if you're a little bit more familiar.
Yes, but I have tried it before. Basically, I think that there was something similar in the Star Wars RTS, if you know that one. But anyway, you have a big map with like planets on it, and basically you pick a planet and you play a mission on that planet, and I believe, like, depending on your success, you take over that planet, and like basically there are 3 factions that are fighting over control on the entire galaxy. I think it's both. I want to say it's mostly PvE, but I don't remember exactly. So yeah, it says co-op match, so it is PvE. So you don't have to worry about like actually fighting people, but just doing missions on specific maps. You can take control.
Yeah, that's what I was more curious about, is whether any kind of PvP was involved. As you said, it looks like it's only PvE centric.
I think that is PvE, but I mean you'd have to check, because it might have changed since I last played.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, like I haven't delved into it yet myself. Maybe looking to. Likewise, there's also going to be an invitational. It's going to be a massive $13,000 invitational. Jesus. Featuring Hearthstone, Mana, Giant Grand Games, Nathanius, Pig, Marine Lord, the Viper, Loco, Jaime, Bappy Jim Rising, Upper Tree, White-Ra, and Juggernaut Jason. So a lot of SC2 personalities, of course. You also have the Viper as well. One moment. Yeah, the Viper, who I believe is God, is he AoE? I think he's Age of Empires, if I recall correctly. I think he's an AoE 4 pro. Yeah, I think he's AoE 4. Marine Lord dipping in, and a couple of others as well. So yeah, it's I do look forward to it. That's going to be on the 9th of August, and yeah, definitely looking forward to dipping into it. Personally, I haven't really looked much at all into ZeroSpace, so I don't really know what to expect personally. But yeah, I might dip my toes in, especially if we're going to be taking a break from StarCraft this week. Might be a good opportunity to dip into some ZeroSpace. But that will wrap up all of our topics here for the week. For now, though, we're going to be going on a short break. And when we come back, we'll be going over all the tournament results. We'll see you soon. See you soon after the break. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Do apologize for that break. Just needed a moment here to check up on the bunnies and to check on things. But we're back. We're back here. We just went through all the topics of the week. Now we're going to be going over the notable results as well for our tournaments this week. First things first, RSL. First up is going to be the Revival StarCraft League Season 6. The group stage has been ongoing and has concluded. Remember, the playoffs are going to be this weekend, I believe. Yes, playoffs are going to be this weekend, but the groups have concluded. Group A and B, I believe we already had gone through, but this last week was Group C and D. So Group C indeed to conclude. Coming to Group C, we had Hero and Shin advancing on out of Group C. If you recall, I was very tentative about the Protoss player, whether it be Hero, Classic, or Trap, just because PvP is very intense at the moment and very dynamic and very aggressive, hyper aggressive. So Hero and Shin do make it through Group C. I thought it was going to be Shin first, Hero second. Instead, Hero did come out in first place. Up next, we had Group D. Group D, I felt like Clem was a sure thing. I believe it was going to be Clem and Cure, but no, Cure actually struggles. I remember that I didn't watch these games, but a lot of people were very vocal about this result in our Twitch chats because we casted Cure in the finals of Tuna Cup, and it was in the semifinals, I believe, that he played against Young Yakov. We'll get into those results later. But he was struggling there, and then people brought up his TVZ from earlier, the previous day, even the previous day before Tuna Cup, in RSL. And so I didn't get to see these games myself, but I was notified that Kira was very passive. He was very passive. He wasn't very active or aggressive, and both Scarlet and Lambo had their way with Kira. So Kira struggled in Group D, did fall, and instead we had Clem and Lambo advancing on. So big upset there, Lambo making it through, but again, Cure, from my understanding, he struggled quite hard there, and he was just, he was playing in a very unfortunate manner. Especially considering the current patch. Meanwhile, that leads us into the playoffs. Mirror matchups abound. Oh god, what the who's seeded this? We do have mirror matchups all over the place. TVT between Bjorn and Clem, ZVZ between Cyril and Shin, Hero versus Solar, and Rogue versus Lambo. Oof. So I would have loved to have spread out the Terrans a little bit more here, so it's a little bit unfortunate. The first day of the playoffs is going to be a little bit more dull, just because it's mirror matchups all over the place. But regardless, I do look forward to seeing Clem play Terran again. Remember, Clem, he has been recently playing TVT over the past week, and we'll be going over more of his TVT results as well, starting next week. Starting when it comes to the Open Cups this week as well. But yeah, TVT Clem has been back to TVT for the past, 10 days at this point, and so far that trend is continuing. So exciting stuff. Looking forward to it. When it comes to the event itself, Cyril, of course, is the big name. Unfortunately, Cyril and Clem are on the same half of the bracket. That's very unfortunate. They both finished first in their groups, but they're both in the same half of the bracket. Would have been nice to have seen them split up, to be honest, and to spread them out a little bit more. So that's also really unlucky for Clem as well. I can see him going far in this event if he didn't face Clem so soon. So wish him all the best. And we'll be there to cover the playoffs and cover the co-stream, hopefully. That leads us into EPIC.LAN. EPIC.LAN number 48 was over the weekend as well. We actually gave them a raid a couple of times. But yeah, it was really cool to see some international representation. So we're used to seeing Lorimbo. It's not Lorimbo and Fian's first time at EPIC.LAN. They've traveled to the UK before in the past to compete in this event. But I believe this is the first time that the Petit Drogo did travel to compete in EPIC.LAN. So out of left field, like Drogo, he's a retired player, by the way. He's retired, he's old school. So randomly he went to the event. I'm curious if he was in the UK for another reason, or if he just wanted to go for the weekend. And surprisingly, he wins the event itself. Like, he takes down a risky 3-0. He falls to Fiant, which to me is expected. What was unexpected is that Petit Drogo, he wins in the rematch. He takes down Fiant 4-3 in the finals. GG, well played. Very, very impressive result there from Drogo, from the retired old man himself, and does claim the win. Claims the win over someone who's like half his age. That's crazy. GG well played. Congratulations to Drogo.
It's this no shot that he's not half his age, right?
Yeah, Fian, he's like.
Yeah, but Drogo is quite young. Like, considering all the other pros, I always thought Drogo was younger. No.
No. Really, Fian's like a third of his age.
No.
So GG well played here. Drogo does claim the win. Very impressive, of course, and really cool to see him traveling to EPIC.LAN. Lorimbo was there, of course, as well. He also went quite far, finishing in 4th place. Figaro, he popped off. He did come 3rd place, taking down Lorimbo as well. GG well played. So I looked it up, and so Drogo, he's 30 years old, and Fiant is 19 years old. Oh.
Yeah, that's not half. So I'm correct.
Yeah.
It's close though.
It's basically half, yeah. No. So GG well played, and with that, that leads us into our next week event. That leads us into the WardiTV Summer Cup Summer Cup 2026. We didn't go over the qualifiers, it looks like. So we had the qualifiers taking place just before the event. Here we did have top 4. Yeah, top 4 advance on. It was a bit of a shorter bracket here. Oh, Soul Spirit. That's the first time I'm seeing his name in a long time. It's been a very, very long time. So Soul Spirit randomly shows up. Hold on. Let's have a look here. I'm trying to see, when was the last time Soul Spirit played? We might have missed him. Like, maybe he played in a French tournament, which makes sense. Jesus. So the last time that Soul Spirit played, now I feel old, was 2023. It's been 3 years. 3 years. Like, for those that don't remember, Soul Spirit, he was one of the younger up and comers with a lot of potential. He had a lot of potential at the time during the COVID era of StarCraft. Like, I think of Soul Spirit, I think of Yang Yaka, Fiance, all these guys, Yiba, they were all these younger players that had a lot of potential. Soul Spirit, who was on Berserker Esports, if you recall. So he has been retired since 2023, and he only recently came back. He came back for the Monday Night Weekly on the 13th of July, then this qualifier, which was on the 16th of July. So he's been inactive for a very, very long time. And I'm curious if he's, how long he'll be back for, right? It's really cool to see him again. He has a lot of potential as a player, of course, or at least he had a lot of potential as a player. I don't know if he plans on sticking around or not. He reminds me of Aragfire, right? Aragfire, he's another, when I think of Soul Spirit, I think of Aragfire as well, from that generation, from that era of StarCraft, where he also retired, stepped away. Aragfire, he recently kind of came back a little bit. Maybe he only came back because of the French Underdogs tournament that's been going on. Maybe that's why Soul Spirit's back as well, because of the French tournaments. It's possible that's all connected. But yeah, really cool to see him in the bracket again. It does go down to Shin, but really cool to see him. Shin, so he takes him down 2-0, takes down Mana 2-0 to qualify. Kira qualifies, Mana qualifies over Nick Rect, and Percival qualifies over Lelix as well. They all do qualify. That leads us into the second qualifier here, of course, where we had Young Yakov, Seamus, Lelix, and Christiana. Once again, a bit of a smaller bracket. Once again, I see Soul Spirit there. Lelix qualifies over Zan. Oh, that's unfortunate. Big upset, though. Big win, big upset. Zan fails to qualify as he loses to Lelix. That's a crazy result. Seamus takes down Nightmare as well. I mean, that's more believable. Like, Seamus is a little more informed, of course. But that Lelix win over Zan is crazy. Yeah, Yakov qualifies over Mixu, and Christiana qualifies over Nicorrect. So, yeah, the only big upset here, I would say, is the Lelix series. Like, that's huge. I mean, that also shows just how chaotic PvP is right now. Like, PvP is more aggressive than previously in the current patch. So, much more aggressive. That leads us into the main event itself, which has yet to conclude. It looks like the group stage continues tomorrow, but Group A and B have concluded. We had Solar and Yanyakov making it through Group A over Nightmare and Nicorrect, and then we had Shin and Percival making it on over over Shameless and Lelix. So big wins here: Shin, Percival, Solar, and Yanyakov advancing on. Best of luck to our players in Group C and D. Group C, we have Cure, Zaun, Zaun was invited. Yeah, looks like he was invited. Okay. Failed to qualify, gets invited anyway. So we have Kira, Zan, Mixu, and Christiana in Group C. And we have Rogue, Byan, Mana, and Hero in Group D. Yo, Group D is stacked. What the hell? Group D is insane. I mean, Group C as well, actually. So Group C, I'm going to lean towards Kira and Christiana. Christiana has been looking really, really impressive as of late, especially in PvP. I do rate Christiana slightly above Zaun at the moment. Zaun has been playing and competing less. In Group D, we got Rogue, Byan, Mana, and Hero. But that's a group of death here. Like, I especially because of the state of PvP, Mana can cause an upset and bring down Hero. Hero, Byan, and Rogue all comparable in skill at the moment. It's hard to say. I think for now I'm gonna tentatively lean towards Rogue and I'm gonna say Rogue and Hero for now, but I can see Byan taking down Hero. I can see Mana taking down Hero. Like, I think Rogue is the only sure thing in that group, and best of luck to the other players. Best of luck. But the WardiTV Summer Cup does continue, and we'll be leading into the playoffs starting next week, I believe. So best of luck. Best of luck. That leads us into the Crank Gathers. Crank Gathers Season 4 group stage. We just alluded to this event previously when going over some of the patch notes for StarCraft Evolution. Here we did conclude the group stage. Group A and B did conclude, actually, and now we have our playoff stage seeded for us. Is now seeded. When it comes to the matches themselves, we did have onside. They took down Stony Balls 3-1. Ryung took down Gigi Machine. Yang Yakov took down Zaun. Maru took down Shameless, and Maru took down Milky Cow as well. So big win there for onside. We had Stony Balls. They took down Crank's Fault. This week it was Crank's Fault, 4-0 in favor of Stony Balls. Milky Cow takes down Percival. Gigi Machine takes down Rogue. Yakov takes down SOS, and Shameless takes down Creator as well. That led us into the final series of the group, which was onside versus Shopify. Here we had Maru take down Scarlet, Zaun took down Hearthstone, Ryung took down Lambo, and Byan took down Zaun at the very end. So again, at the time, so in the end, onside and Sounding Balls, they advanced on out of Group A. I was expecting Shopify to do a little bit better here in the group stage, but they did struggle. They struggled as they did lose every series. I had higher expectations for Byan specifically. Like, Byan, as the ace player, he did falter when it mattered most. He lost against Creator and Rogue in their series against Crank's Fault, and likewise, Byan did win his match against Onside, but the other players did not. So yeah, shaky performance there from Shopify. Did struggle here in StarCraft Evolution. Up next, we did have Group B. So Group B did conclude. We had a Team Red, White, and Blue. They took down Basilisk 3-2. Big win here for Ubu Thermal and the boys, the homies, alongside Blast Goblin and Vaeda. Euthermal took down Serral, Raynor took down Blask, Goblin took down Trigger, Serral took down Blask, and then Euthermal took down Raynor in the ace match. So big win there for Team Red, White, and Blue. We got CRHB, who I would say is one of the best teams in the league. They take down Team Red, White, and Blue 3-1. Hero took down Blask, Shin took down Goblin, Classic took down Euthermal, and then Goblin did fight back against Solar, but by then it was too late. CRHB, they do claim the series. Up next, we had Team Liquid. Team Liquid up against Basilisk. Serral took down Clem in their best of one. Cure took down Trigger, a laser over Raynor, and Cure over Serral. So Team Liquid, they do take down Basilisk. Basilisk, they do finish last in their group, which it was to be expected. That was kind of our prediction, is that Basilisk, I mean, my prediction, to be fair, was Basilisk and Onside would struggle. Onside, surprisingly, they thrived in their group. Basilisk did struggle. As again, they're one of the best teams in the world in StarCraft II, but doesn't quite, StarCraft Evolution is its own beast, of course. Its own beast, its own kind of different game mode. And Basilisk, they have a team full of players that are very unfamiliar with StarCraft Evolution. But in the end, Team Liquid and CRHB do make it through Group B. And that leads us into the playoff bracket. So we do have Onside and Team Liquid in the upper bracket finals, Stanley Balls and CRHB in the lower brackets. Oh boy. So again, when it comes to this event, I do still rate CRHB very highly. I do expect them to go far in this event. Team Liquid, they definitely have a strong roster, especially with Cure at the forefront of that. Onside did surprise us with Maru's play, for example, so I could see them upsetting. For now, I'm going to tentatively favor CRHB in this event, but again, Team Liquid and Onside have proven that they can take it to the best of them. So we'll see. We shall see. Wishing them all the best, and again, these matches are going to be taking place over the weekend. We'll be there for it. We will be there. Up next, we had SCL. We had the SCL King of the Hill number 12. This was also a couple of days ago, actually, on the 19th of July. King of the Hill style format for StarCraft Evolution. Here we had Young Yakov. Yakov takes out Mang Russell initially and goes on a massive win streak, takes out Rebellion and Alex Dether. Does fall to 3-point, and 3-point takes it from there. It's been a while since we've seen 3-point dominate in this kind of format, but he takes down Young Yakov, Ilsup, Mang Russell, Rebellion, Alex, Mang Russell, and Rebellion once again. GG all played. Again, 3-point and Yakov excelling here in the King of the Hill. Up next, we have the Galaxy Open. So Choi Galaxy has been hosting a tournament on a mod featuring the previous game, the game balance of the previous patch. And it's mainly been like the Korean scene embracing this, speaking about like players like Ateshi or Rebellion or 3-point, Quanta, Junior, Percival. Like those are the players that we typically expect here. Here we had a full Terran bracket. Just nothing but TVTs. Beyond, Silver BV, Percival, and Nicarak. So pure Terran players here. Beyond does breeze his way through, takes down Silver BV 2-0, takes down Percival 2-0, and takes down Silver BV 3-0 in the grand finals. GG. GG all played. Beyond does claim the win in all these TVTs. GG. That leads us into the Amateur League Weekly number 166. Once again, it looks like we are committing here to this site, to the Z Build Order site. Interesting that now of all times we're seeing some competitive, some other bracket sites kind of like competing in their own way. We have the Z Build Order, we have Challenge, of course, but we also have the new Vespine GG site as well. Interesting. For the initiate weekly, we do have Shular. So Shular takes down Flaps 2-1 and takes him down 3-1 in the grand finals. This is for the leagues between bronze and platinum. So this is for bronze and platinum players. Shular does claim the win. Up next, we have the veteran edition. This is for Diamond 3 to Diamond 2. Here we had Split, a player that I'm very unfamiliar with, but Split, he takes down Scorpion 2-0. He falls to Clefudis, and then he does come back in the rematch, takes Clefudis down 3-0. GG. GG, well played. Then we have the Prestige Edition. This is for Diamond 1 to Masters 2. Here, again, signups have been reduced a little bit. It might just be because players have a hard time finding the site and logging in and signing up. It's hard to say. It might also be just be at a different time zone. But Defiance takes down Boreal 2-1, does fall to Zigger, and then Zigger takes down Defiance 3-0 in the grand finals. GG. GG well played. And then we get Nicarak with a walkover win in the GM Edition. Those are our weeklies. We then had MSO, Masters on Open. That was over the weekend. That is our online tournament for 4.7k and below players. This is basically M2. Masters 2 and below are able to compete. And here we had Beast. Beast, he went Beast mode. He took down Scorpion 2-0, took down Set 2-0, and took down Elaine 3-0 in the grand finals. GG, well played. Beast does claim the win and is going to be this week's or this month's MSO champion. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Beast. Does claim the win. That leads us into the Born Gosu Star League Revival group stage. I believe you had already gone over this event in the past, but we do have some updates here. It looks like the group stage did conclude. Yeah, it looks like groups to conclude and the playoff bracket has been slowly progressing. So once again, I guess just to reiterate, it's great to see that Born Gosu is active again. I guess this tournament is kind of alluding to that. It's a revival tournament. I think we recently did take note of some of the Gosu players like returning. I think when we first spoke about this event. So really cool to see that Born Gosu is still active in their own way. We have our own ties to Born Gosu as well. And I think we did take note of this. We have a couple of invited players and some older school players as well. We had Greenert. Greenert takes down Ashen 2-0. I believe Greenert is off racing, just to help make things a little bit more balanced in a way. Shas takes down Miro. Patches takes down Soul King 2-1. Arts takes down Aaron Noob 2-0 as well. So we do have our top 4 kind of formulating here. Arts also takes down Patches 2-1. I don't really know. I'm not really too familiar with Arts, but I appreciate that we have another Art, just slightly different, just to distinguish them. It's good. Appreciate it. On the lower bracket here, we do have Miro takes down Hunter Swarm 2-0, Ashen takes down Von Big Cat, Souls King takes down Slug, and again the bracket is slowly progressing. Just a bit of an in-house, Born Gosu tournament here. Really cool to see the clan being active again. Really cool. We appreciate it. Up next, we have the Malecos Replay League Season 5, Division number 8. Once again, Malecos, he is a German content creator, German caster, has been running these events for the German scene, or for the German kind of speaking scene for quite some time. And once again, we did conclude our Division 8 matches here. Herbsty does come out in first place, 5-0 over all the other players. We had Little P in second as well, alongside Amarok, Acid Burn as well in third and fourth place. Again, these are players that I'm not really too familiar with here, but congratulations and shout out to our players nonetheless. Shout out to Malecos for again hosting events for the German scene. Big shout out as we had like a big round robin group stage here. 5 days, by the way, that's crazy. 5 days of StarCraft, and this is streamed over on the SE2 DE channel, which is like a collaboration channel of Malecos and a couple of other German casters, all working together to bring us some German StarCraft. Up next, we did have the Legacy of League Japan. Legacy of League Japan here. I'm ready for some boba. Give us the tapioca. Oh, no boba this week. Okay, so we had Kaiman. Kaiman. He takes down Antara Riven 2-0. Takes down Psyarch as well. Takes down Antara Example, and takes down a player that I'm very unfamiliar with, Kazumo Zerg. I don't think I've noticed that name before, so really cool to see Kazumo making it that far, and congratulations to Kaiman. Kaiman we have seen have some decent runs before, but yeah, congratulations to the Kaiman. Does take down Kazumo Zerg 2-1. GG. GG well played. We have a new champion. True, we have a new champion. We then had the Chinese weekly. This is the StarCraft II Weekly Open Tournament 2026 Season 2 number 5. Here we do have, that's not Silky. Who is that? No, that is Silky. Okay. That's Silky. So Silky, he takes down, I believe that's Nanyu in the finals. I knew that one was Silky and the other was Nanyu. So Silky, he is our champion, and the player that he played against is Nanyu. Yeah. So Silky versus Nanyu in the grand finals. Really odd finals because, as you can see, Lemon takes down Silky 2-1 in the semis, but looks like he maybe was unavailable. So Lemon, he defeats Silky, then he forfeits. That's why you see... No, wait, what? Lemon gets a walkover win over Cyan. Okay, so Lemon defeats Silky, but then he forfeits, so then Silky advances, and then Cyan forfeits, and then Lemon default win third place? Is that what happened? That's the only thing that makes sense in my mind, is that Lemon forfeited first, but then there was a bronze match, and then Cyan forfeited against Lemon, who was there to compete. So then he gets third place? Goodbye.
Why are you asking me? I have no idea.
That's what happened, right?
That's
what makes so much sense, right? Is that he forfeited against Silky after winning?
Because
and then Cyan forfeited against Lemon, but Lemon was available to play.
Yeah, probably. Like maybe like Lemon was like temporarily unavailable, then he came back, but Cyan was not there. So
it would only make sense if the bronze match was played like after the first place match or something. Because if Lemon was unavailable to play the finals, it would make sense to be available to play the bronze match, right? That's the weird thing.
no, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. I know what's going on here, but regardless, congratulations, Silky. Lemon does defeat him, but does not advance on to the grand finals. The forfeiting shenanigans going on here, but regardless, congratulations to Silky for claiming the win, and shout out to Nanyo as well for defeating Cyan. Typically, I favor Cyan over Nanyo, but Nanyo does bring him down. GG. GG well played. That leads us into something different, actually. We have not seen this before. Wardy show match number 1, the first of its kind. Interesting. So $100 show match, best of 5, between Hero and Clem. Huh. Okay, so a little bit out of the blue. We'll see if this becomes a regular occurrence, but TVP between Clem and Hero. Clem does take down Hero 3-1. This took place over the weekend on Saturday. Interesting. Took place on Saturday, and we'll see if this becomes a trend or not. But again, the first of its kind, Wardy hosted a show match, best of 5, 3-1, favor of Clem. GG. GG well played. That leads us into the Masters Big Bang Bouts, number 122. Speaking of show matches, here we did have our three show matches organized by Basilisk. It was all casted by Roddy, of course. We had the fun one, which was Shin versus a Laser, ZVZ, and a Laser takes down Shin 3-2. Big win here for a Laser. We cast a lot of a Laser ZVZ during Home Story Cup, and here he takes down Shin in a strong fashion. Very impressive, very impressive. We then had the good one, TVT between Percival and Nicorect. Does go in favor of Percival, 3-0 over Nicorect. Then we had the Basilisk one, which was Lambo versus Raynor, ZVZ as well. Why do we have so many mirror matchups? It was the week of the mirror. Okay, mirror matchups abound. ZVZ, Lambo takes down Raynor 3-2. Big win there for Lambo. But again, ZVZ is hyper aggressive right now. Hyper aggressive, hyper intense. So a Laser and Lambo causing upsets, but considering the current state of ZVZ, makes sense in my mind that an upset like this would happen. So congratulations to a Laser, congratulations to Lambo for claiming those wins. That leads us into the Shopify Rebellion Sunday number 8. What was the format this time? So we had 2 divisions. Usually it's 3, but this time only 2. So first we had Division B.
It's like a raffle. Which format it is today?
It is. We roll the dice, we flip a coin, and then we see like what lands on blue, and then we go for that. So in the end, we had a best of 5 between Scarlet and a Laser. Speaking of ZVZ, the ZVZs, they continue. A Laser took down Shin earlier. Here he takes down Scarlet 3-2. Also went all the way to the ace match. Interesting. Ace match every single time. Laser does claim the win. That leads us into the Division A show match. Solar versus Percival, and Percival, big win here for the Terran, takes down Solar 3-2. Huge win, big upset, I would say, as Percival does walk away with all the prize money. GG. GG well played. Congratulations to Percival. That leads us into the OSC mid-season playoffs number 1. Here we did have our bracket concluding. Okay, or continuing, I should say. So we did have Max Pax versus Solar. We've been waiting on this one. Max Pax does take down Solar, does take him down 2-0. 2-0 does bring him down to advance on to the upper bracket finals. Cure takes down Beyond 2-0, and we have a best of 5 between Max Pax and Cure. Likewise, lower bracket matches to conclude as well. We did have Lambo taking down Shameless 3-0, Skilless took down Sham 3-0, Percival takes down Harsum 3-1, and Showtime takes down Christiana 3-1 as well. So GGO played, again, more or less expected results here. I was maybe expecting Christiana and Showtime to go to the ace match, or even expecting Percival to have a stronger showing versus Harsum, but regardless, GG. GG well played. So we do have our top players now. Lambo versus Skilless and Percival versus Showtime. When it comes to this tournament, the top 2 players are still Max Pax and Cure. Straight up, they're still the top 2 players in this event. And I would not be surprised if they have a rematch in the finals. But we'll see. Like Solar, Beyond, Showtime, Lambo, Skilless, Percival, they can always punch up. They can always cause upsets. They can definitely threaten Cure and Max Pax. They can threaten them. Even earlier in this tournament, SCHistorian did actually bring Cure to the ace match, so there's definitely a chance there, for sure. So wish him all the best. That leads us into the GEC Open number 2. I believe this took place after the Sparkling Tuna Cup, or sorry, during even the Tuna Cup. Here, a bit of a smaller bracket. We had Bjorn. Bjorn takes down SCHistorian 2-0, takes Young Yakov down 2-0, and takes Sola down 3-0. Jesus, Bjorn, he breezes his way through the tournament. 2-0s and 3-0s everywhere. Oh my god, Este Bjorn does claim the win and does become this year's GEC champion. Again, this is like an annual event. From my understanding, this isn't going to be like a regular thing. So congratulations to Bjorn. Congrats. Does claim the win. That leads us into this week's open tournaments. We do begin with Kung Fu Cup. So KFC did conclude here Kung Fu Cup week number 15. This is last week's Kung Fu Cup. Here we had Clem. I believe this is also pre-patch. So this is before the CC patch. But Clem takes down Nightmare 2-0. Clem takes down Rogue 2-1. And then Hero does bring him down to the grand finals. Hero took down Beyond 2-0, took down Percival 2-0, takes down Clem 3-1 as well. Again, Hero has been hyper aggressive in PvT, and I would imagine he was hyper aggressive against Percival, Beyond, and Clem as well. So big win there for Hero. That leads us into Tuna Cup. At Tuna Cup here, TVT abound as Bjorn takes down Shameless 2-0. Cura takes down Young Yakov 2-1. This is where we did allude to the fact that Cura was kind of struggling in the TVZ matchup, and Young Yakov did take a map. And then Cura takes down Bjorn 3-2. Went all the way to the ace match, but Cura does claim the win. GG. GG well played. That leads us into the WardiTV Monday this week. This is the event that we were, because I was unwell and I still am, my voice still isn't quite at 100%, like at 50% if anything. But Clem, so we did miss this, but Clem, he did take down Rogue 2-0, takes down Cura 2-1. TVT there for Clem. Big win, by the way. And Clem takes down Hero 3-1 in the grand finals. This is the first WardiTV Monday on the new CC patch. So Clem does take the win. Big win there for Clem. On the way there, Hero did take down Max Pax in the quarterfinals, took down Percival in the semis, did fall to Clem in the grand finals. Well, then later on that day, we did have the Monday Night Weeklies. Here we did have, likewise, more TVP abound. We had Clem. Clem takes down Young Yakov 2-0. Clem takes down Cure once again. Yo, these are big TVT wins. Like, I do favor Cure over Clem, but for Clem to defeat Cure in the WardiTV Monday and Monday Night Weekly as well, these are huge wins. These are huge wins. Max gets his revenge over Hero. Max takes on Clem 2-1, and then in the lower brackets we have Kira get his revenge. There it is. Curie 2-0's Clem. That's kind of more what we expect. Takes on Clem 2-0. Kira and Max they go to the ace match, but Max does defeat Kira in the grand finals. GG. GG well played. That leads us into the PondCast Cup. PondCast Cup number 61. That was this morning, I believe. It was this morning. Once again, still not 100%, so we did miss out on this. More TVTs as we have Cure. Cure takes on Clem 3-0. So once again, Cure takes on Clem. In the semifinals, 3-0. Bjorn takes on Hero 3-2, went to the ace match. Then we have a TVT. Oh, Bjorn takes on Cure. I usually favor Cure in the TVTs, but no, Bjorn did bring him down, this time in that best of 5. GG well played here as Bjorn does claim this week's PondCast Cup, and again, that was earlier this morning. This week's Kung Fu Cup is currently live, I believe, currently ongoing, or is going to start soon, one or the other. I think it's currently live. So do look forward to it. So we'll be going over those results next week. We're going over them. But GG well played. Once again, as I mentioned, I can't really speak too much on some of these matches. Like, unfortunately, we just got sick. We got unwell, so we missed casting WardiTV Monday and PondCast Cup this week. So I can't speak too much on the TVPs that did take place in those games, in those matches, or the TVZs either, between Clem and Rogue and Shin and Percival and some of these other matchups. So I can't really speak too much on them. But I look forward to catching up basically over the maybe next week. Like I thought I was going to be good for today, but I'm still not quite there. So most likely our next broadcast, I mean, I need to cast OSC. Like we pushed it back, but I'm probably still going to cover OSC. Maybe I'll have extra breaks. I'm a little bit concerned about Crank Gatherers, but I think the Crank Gather broadcast should be a little bit shorter. Kuro can maybe speak on this because you're helping to run the event. But how many matches are per playoff day? Is it just 1 or 2 series? How many series?
I think we're having 1 series right now.
Yeah, if it's 1 a day, I think we should be okay.
Because it's a longer series, because it's the WTL all kill format.
Yeah.
It's not just best of 5s.
Yeah, so if it's just a singular series, we should be able to. I should be okay to. I'll just like take it easy, maybe like have a break halfway through. The issue is that, like, if I take too much time off, like, we're just gonna have like a massive backlog of things to cast. Like, we have to cast OSC. That'll be tomorrow. We'll cover the Crank Gatherers event. We should be okay for that. Co-streaming is typically easier because we're not fully casting. Like, we typically like adding commentary, and RSL is usually a really short broadcast. So we should be fine to co-stream RSL, but I'm on the fence about KSL. KSL, we might do a replay cast instead. We might just ease off, which is a shame because it's the last. We should have spoken about it, but yeah, KSL. We're gonna have a big momentous KSL here. I believe it was already publicly announced that Chicken Man. Yeah, it was announced. Chicken Man, he is going to be taking a step back. So this week's KSL, this month's KSL, is going to be like a bit of a send off to Chicken Man. It would be a big shame if we didn't get to cast it, but cast it live. But just because we're a little bit unwell, we might just have to do it 5 replays instead, which is a shame. But yeah, outside of that, all of our regular scheduled casting should be good, except for maybe KSL. We might just push that back to another day. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with KSL. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Again, do apologize for kind of rushing through the PondCast this week, but still resting, still recovering. Do apologize for missing out on 2 days of StarCraft. Again, we missed PondCast Cup and we missed WardiTV Monday. But hopefully, and I guess we missed Kung Fu Cup as well. But we'll try to rest. We'll try to recover. Hopefully, we can get back into 100% by next week. Hopefully. When it comes to tuning in or competing in some of these events, you can do so via the sign up list, !sign up list in the chat. You get a link to our sign up list, of course, for all the open cups out there, qualifiers, open tournaments. If you want to take part, and even in amateur events as well, it's all there on the sign up list. Likewise, if you want to support us, you can do so via Patreon. Patreon does fund our tournaments. We had MSO last weekend. We have STC, the Tuna Cup, on a regular weekly basis as well. It's all funded via Patreon, and you can help us grow our tournament via Patreon as well. Once again, I do apologize for missing out on a couple of days of casting, and again, we're going to be probably taking it a little bit easier for the next week or so. But again, my voice was like overly strained over the past 2-3 weeks. We've been pushing it. Weather has not been helping, and still not quite fully there yet. But yeah, hopefully we can get better. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some OSC Elite Rising Star broadcast. That should be my first cast in like a couple of days' time, in like 3 days. So I'll be casting that. And then, again, starting Friday of the weekend, Crank Gatherers and RSL will be there. We will be there. And again, we most likely will be replay casting KSL. We normally would live cast it, but we're probably going to take it easy. But thanks for watching. Thanks so much. And stick around. We'll be giving another StarCraft streamer, or we'll give another streamer a raid. I do know that Uwu Thermal, he's streaming ZeroSpace at the moment, so might give him some love. We'll see. We'll see you next time. Ciao.